Hello and welcome back to another manga haul on my YouTube channel. I intentionally timed this one to go up on the very last day of the year to kind of serve as a wrap up for the year 2023, and also because going into 2024 I'm going to be reducing the volume of manga I buy just for a little bit of time while I work through some things, and for a couple of reasons. The first one being that I am running out of space on my shelves. If you caught my manga reorganization video, you know that I'm running out of space, and I want to read the bulk of what I already have there before I make the choice to buy a new shelf or bookcase and start increasing the volume of manga that I'm buying, which is my second reason. I want to read most of what I already do own. And the third reason is the real life possibility of me having to move at some point, because where I live currently is not really somewhere I see myself settling down long term, and moving books can be a fucking hassle. And I really have to think about that and really just plan out the next couple of years of my life career-wise to see how that's going to affect where I'm going to believe in the next couple of years. So yeah, those are my three reasons. But back to the purpose of this video. Everything I have in this manga haul I bought from Barnes & Noble and the Crunchyroll store. I do get Barnes & Noble gift cards from my 9-to-5 job, and as for the Crunchyroll store, I bought most of what I got there from using credit card rewards that I accumulated over the course of the year. Most of this stuff were on sale as well, so that really helped. And if you do a little bit of girl math, or maybe just a whole lot of it, that basically means that I got most of what I have here for free, which is always great. Everything I bought came in about 5 packages, so I've sectioned them off into 3 major sections to talk through, and those will be November releases, December releases, and then everything else, just to make it easier on myself and make sure that this video does not become longer than it needs to be. I'll start with the November releases, which is the smallest section of items that I have in this manga haul. I have only 3 titles, 1 manga omnibus, and then 2 webtoons. The omnibus I have here is Innocent by Shinichi Sakamoto. I was super excited for this manga release, and I found out about this mangaka about 4 years ago through a YouTube video that I watched, and he was talking about manga creation in the digital era. I remember watching that video and just being like utterly flabbergasted that I'd never heard of this mangaka before, because his artwork is so incredibly detailed and beautiful. And I was just watching the video thinking, how can someone be this great at their art form and people are not talking about it somewhere? Because prior to that video, I had never heard of this mangaka before. But ever since then, another work of his that I'm a little bit familiar with will be Koko no Hito, the Climber, or the Solitary Person, I think is the more exact translation of the Japanese name to English. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one. It combines 3 of the original Japanese volumes into this one omnibus, so you can see that it's pretty chunky. And I'm going to try to show you some panels from the manga just to drive in how incredibly beautiful this mangaka's work is. So that was Innocent by Shinichi Sakamoto. And for the webtoons, I have The Villainess Turns the Hourglass, the first volume of that, and the first volume of The Dangerous Convenience Store. This is a BL, and this is like an isekai romance webtoon. I love this webtoon with my entire heart. This is my favorite villainous themed webtoon, isekai webtoon. I do read quite a bit of those. The story can feel a bit repetitive, but I just enjoy reading them for some reason, because you get to see this kind of weak-willed main character come back and get another chance at life and just become a villainess. I was about to say a really bad word, but she becomes a villainess and she sucks it to everyone who treated her like shit in her past life. And the reason why I like this one over every other isekai webtoon that I've read is because of the main character, Araya, on the cover. She has like boss ass bitch energy vibes, and her energy throughout the series just stayed consistent. Like, it never dwindled. If anything, I feel like her energy just kept leveling up throughout the series, and it just makes you enjoy the series so very much, more than any attractive men that were in this series, and there are quite a bit of them. She was my favorite character, and that is rare, because I'm not gonna lie, I read a lot of webtoon just for attractive men, but her energy in the series just draws you to her and makes it hard to focus on anyone else. She was that great of a main character. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. I loved it very, very much, and it's my favorite, like I said. So I do plan to collect the entire series. Webtoons are incredibly expensive, so I guess we're just going to see how that goes, but that is The Villainess Turns the Hourglass. The second one I have here is The Dangerous Convenience Store. I finished reading this one earlier in the year and I loved it very, very much. If you read BL manhwas, you're probably familiar with the name of, or you've heard the name 𝕬𝕬𝕜 at some point. This is the series responsible for the character named 𝕬𝕬𝕜. It is a very mature, filthy manhwa. There's a lot of adult stuff going on, if you know what I mean. It's rated mature for a reason. So yeah, I'm excited to have that one as well. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of it. It's not a very long series, but I'm going to try to collect all of this as well. It's just really pretty. I love it, and I love the story very much. So those are the November releases. As for the December releases I picked up, I've separated them into 3 sections, and I'll be starting with webtoons. I have the first volume of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint and the 5th volume of The Remarried Empress. I've been collecting this one since it started getting released. I already own the first 5 volumes. This is another webtoon that I really enjoy. It has a little bit of villainous vibes, although it's not an isekai webtoon, but I'm really enjoying this one. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, I have been trying my hardest to stay away from spoilers for this series because I've never read it, and I've succeeded in doing so. So I can't wait to get into this one. It's extremely popular and highly rated. Can't wait to read it. I don't know anything about it except the fact that I think the main character was reading a web series and then he gets, I guess it's isekai. He gets isekai'd into the world of the series that he was reading, but he now has the viewpoint because he read the series, hence the title of the webtoon, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. So yeah, I can't wait to read that one. The next section of December releases I have here are first volumes of 3 manga series, Pink Heart Jam, How I Met My Soulmate, and The Secret of Friendship. Funny thing is, I had no idea any of these were being physically released until I saw them on either the Crunchyroll store or just someone else's page on social media. I read Pink Heart Jam earlier in the year and I enjoyed it. It's a short series with a college setting between a student called Haiga and his junior. It is rated mature, and this cover is just super pretty. Because it's short, I believe this is only going to be released in 2 volumes, and I thought that was worth picking up, so I did pick it up. The next one, How I Met My Soulmate. I'm already pretty familiar with this series. I started reading this one earlier in the year as well. I want to say probably around April or May. This is another romance with a college setting. I do love my college setting romances. But this one has a super easygoing vibe to it. The main characters communicate well with each other and everything was going well until the most recent, like 5 to 10 chapters. There is quite a bit of drama going on in the series that feels like drama just for the sake of it, because it doesn't necessarily align with how the main couple's relationship has been going prior to this more recent chapters. And I just want to tell the author, like, wrap it up. We don't like it. That's not what we're here for, okay? So yeah, that is How I Met My Soulmate. It's a really good story. If the drama that is going on in the series currently will just get wrapped up, we can go back to the good shit, which is why I really love this manga. But I enjoyed it and I picked it up. How I Met My Soulmate. The last one is The Secret of Friendship. I have never heard about this manga before, but I think I'm familiar with the mangaka. I'm blanking on the work of hers that I've read before, but I picked it up because I'm familiar with the mangaka and I loved one of her works. I saw it on someone's social media page, so I decided to pick up the first volume and just see how I like it. The last section of December releases I have here are series that I'm already collecting. So I have the 3rd omnibus of Don't Call It Mystery, the 6th volume of In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, and the 2nd volume of Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. The 3rd omnibus of Don't Call It Mystery, I read the first one in November. I really enjoyed it. I want to keep reading it, so I picked up the next 2 omnibuses. This is the 3rd one because it's a December releases. The 2nd one is somewhere in this manga haul and I'll show it later. The 6th volume of In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. This was one of my favorite shoujo manga last year. I love this couple so much, and it helps that the art of this manga is incredibly pleasing to the eye. I know that the mangaka Mika Yamamori took a health break recently, so the manga is currently on hiatus, which I am here for. If you follow a lot of manga creation, you know that being a manga artist is an incredibly demanding job, and the last thing that you want to happen is for them to work themselves so hard that a manga goes on permanent hiatus. Definitely trying to avoid that. So take care of yourself, manga creators, and just make sure that you're in good enough health so that you can keep creating the beautiful stories that people love you for. So yeah, I'm happy that she decided to take a break, and I love In the Clear Moonlit Dusk a lot. The last volume of manga I have here is the second volume of Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. I love this story a lot. It's just a fluffy BL manga with tropes that I enjoy very much. The second gen trope, and I just enjoy BL manga with little kids or like single parents. It takes the fluff factor to like 1000 in BL manga, and I just love that because they're super cozy and just heartwarming, wholesome to read. I already read the first volume. I loved it, so I want to read the second one as well, and that was why I picked this one up. So those are all the December releases I picked up. And for everything else, I'm going to be starting with these two releases that I picked up much later, or that arrived much later than it was meant to. The first one is the BL manga or yaoi manga, No Touching at All. June Manga printed the second edition of this manga. I read it a long time ago, but I picked it up because I love it. And I think they severely underestimated how many people were interested in buying this, because for a very long time, people had not gotten their orders. I pre-ordered this manga. I think it was meant to be released in October, if I'm remembering correctly. And this didn't arrive till December, so it took a while to get here, but I am happy that it finally did. No Touching at All. I believe the sequel is being released as well, which is Even So I Will Love You Tenderly. Fingers crossed that that one goes better. I have that one pre-ordered as well. It's already showing a late delivery date, but I guess we're going to see how that one goes. The second one that I have here is a webtoon, 𝕞𝕚𝕒, the first volume. This was the first webtoon I ever read back in 2016. I remember back then they dropped like one episode of 𝕞𝕚𝕒's Awakening, and I remember watching it and just thinking like, what? Where's the rest of it? You're just going to drop one amazing episode of this, whatever this is, and just leave it for people to be curious about. And then I found out it had a webtoon, so I started reading it. I remember around the same time I also started reading Cheese in the Trap, because the drama, the Korean drama, was airing around the same time, and I found out that it was a webtoon as well. So those two, as well as Windbreaker, were the first set of webtoons that I ever read back in 2016. I never did finish 𝕞𝕚𝕒, so I want to pick it back up again and start reading it. Doing that with the physical print is probably not the best idea, since I can read it on webtoon and these are expensive, but again, I'm just going to see how that goes. The next set of things I'll be going over are bundle deals that I got great discounts on. The first one being the box set, the first box set of Sweat and Soap. I got this one from Barnes & Noble and it was going for 30% off. I don't really know much about this series, but I know people love it. It's like a more grown-up romance between a perfumer and this woman that suffers with, I think, body odor. I hope I'm remembering that correctly, but I am very interested in reading it. This first box set has the first 6 volumes, and I think the second one has the remaining 5 volumes in the series. So it's a pretty short series, and I am excited to read this one. The next bundle deal I have here is not really manga, it's more like a light novel, is Raven of the Inner Palace. I watched the anime for this series last year. I loved it very, very much, and I just felt like there was more to the story, so I've always wanted to read it. They had a bundle deal on it on the Crunchyroll store, so I picked up the first 3. I think there is a 4th volume. I don't know if that's the end of the series, but these were the only 3 available in the bundle, so I just decided to buy these 3. The next bundle deal I picked up, or the next 2, were from Kodansha. I have A Sign of Affection. I already own the first volume of this series. and I bought volumes 2 and 3 individually, and then I bought the bundle of volumes 4, 5, and 6. They were still heavily discounted. I think I bought one volume for like $7 because it was like 40% off the original price, and then I got an additional discount with my Crunchyroll subscription. I am super excited for the anime adaptation of this series. I started reading it again earlier in the year because I was reading it last year and I dropped it at some point. But yeah, I'm really excited to keep reading this and for the anime adaptation. The last bundle deal I bought from Crunchyroll store was 10 Dance. This is a BL yaoi manga. I have volumes 1 through 4. I don't really know much about this one except that it's about dancing. I've never read it before, but I think this one was recommended, well, not necessarily recommended. I got influenced to pick it up because of Connor on Trash Days. I believe he was the one that mentioned this and got me interested in actually reading it because he speaks so highly, or he spoke so highly of it when he mentioned it on one episode of Trash Days. So yeah, I cannot wait to read that one as well. The next tiny section of manga I have are the second omnibus of Don't Call It Mystery, which I did mention that I picked up. And I also have the second and third volumes of The High School Life of a Fudanshi. I got introduced to this series because of the anime. I don't know if it's right to call it an anime. It's more like a really short web series. Each episode is like 3 minutes and there's 12 episodes in total, I think. It's more like a slice of life gag comedy series. It's like really, really funny and just follows the school life of this Fudanshi, like the title suggests. But yeah, it was really, really funny and I loved it. It's super short. I think it only has 5 volumes. The first one was not available on Crunchyroll store, so I picked up volumes 2 and 3 instead. Everything else I have in this manga haul is BL. I'll start with the Sublime titles I picked up. I have the first 2 volumes of the series Blue Morning and Old Fashioned Cupcake with Cappuccino, which is a sequel for the one-shot Old Fashioned Cupcake. I already do own that one and I've read it. I loved it. It was this cute office romance with an age gap. I believe the age gap between the main couple was about 10 years. And I liked this manga because it's not very often that you see romantic relationships being shown between people who are more grown. The older of the couple was 39 going on 40 and his partner is 29, 10-year age gap. So yeah, I loved it for that reason. It was realistic, but it still had a wholesome and cute vibe to it. So I picked up the sequel because I wanted to read it. Blue Morning, this manga art feels extremely familiar. I almost feel like I've read this series before, but I'm not sure. I'm going to find out when I pop this one open and I try to read it again, but it looked familiar and I like the synopsis of the series, so I would like to read it. I believe this is meant to be between a butler and the master he serves. The next section of BL I have here are all from Tokyo Pop. I have the Dekoboko series, that's what I've decided to call it, because they have different titles, but they're just the same series, and then just a bunch of one-shots. I picked up the Dekoboko series, Dekoboko Sugar Days and Dekoboko Bittersweet Days, because of a TikTok video I watched, and I would like to read this one. I don't know much else about it because I've never read it before. The one-shots I have here are Yagi, the Bookshop Goats, The Cat Proposed, and The Black Cat and the Vampire. They all have animals in the titles for some reason. I love Tokyo Pop one-shots. They're always well done. I always enjoy them. And I just like the idea of being able to read an entire series in one volume, in one sitting, and never have to worry about what happens after that because it's complete in one volume. So I picked up those 3 for that reason. They all sound fluffy, wholesome, cute, which is my vibe a lot of the time, and I would like to read those. Now that I think about it, I think The Black Cat and the Vampire is not a one-shot. I believe I remember seeing the second volume of this somewhere, so only these 2 are one-shots, and The Black Cat and the Vampire is an ongoing series. And for the final section of manga in this haul, I have the first 2 volumes of the series Twilight Out of Focus and the first volume of The Red Thread. Twilight Out of Focus, I have been adding this to my cart and moving it to save for later since June on Right Stuff, and then I carried that attitude over to the Crunchyroll store after they merged. But I decided finally that, you know what, I haven't really ever given up on buying this series, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy it. And I cannot lie, the covers were extremely instrumental in making sure that I buy this series. The synopsis sounds cute as well, but the covers were what tipped me over. And I found out recently that this is getting an anime as well. I've never read it before, but I would like to read it. And finally, I have The Red Thread. This cover looks super cute. And as a Hualien lover and TGCF lover, I am a sucker for any series that has the red thread or the red string of fate trope, which is why I picked up this one. And the cover looks cute. That was the only reason I picked it up. But that was pretty much everything that I bought to wrap up my manga purchase for the year. The only thing I would have liked to pick up was the Apothecary Diaries. They are doing a bundle deal on it on the Crunchyroll store right now. I believe it's like 41% off, but the first 2 are already sold out. So the only one that was available the last time I checked was the 3rd bundle, which had volumes 7, 8, and 9. Not shocking. The anime has been doing really, really well. So I'm guessing that made a lot more people interested in reading it. But I don't know what I'm going to do with volume 7, 8, and 9 if I don't have the ones before it. So I'm just going to keep watching the anime. I believe it's going to have 24 episodes. So whatever happens after that, I'm going to decide if I want to keep reading online or if I want to collect the physical volumes of the series. But that was everything that I bought, and I will see you in my next video. I hope everyone has a happy new year and a great year ahead. Whatever day you find yourself watching this, make it a great one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.